All right, on this episode of Bare Knuckle Bowker, very excited to be talking to an individual who is headlining BKB 47 Leeds Brawl 2, which goes down on October the 18th. And we were supposed to see it a little bit ago. Some things kind of shifted timeline wise, but we will get to that in the body of the interview. We have Paulie Malignaggi and Tyler Goodjohn stepping into that BKB Mighty Trigon, and great having Tyler back on Bare Knuckle Bowker today. How you doing, man?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Pleasure to be back.
Yeah, no, it's always good getting to talk to you, man. And hopefully nothing happens mid interview here. I was seeing that clip going around where you learned your fight was off during the middle of an interview. So hopefully no unpleasant news during this interview.
No, hopefully not.
But I guess going back to that moment, and I kind of referenced it in the introduction there, just that BKB 45 initially planned return for Molinagi getting postponed. I mean, we're obviously in close proximity to the amended booking now, but I guess what were you feeling and thinking when it was relayed to you that fight wouldn't be happening on the initially locked in date?
Yeah, it was hard because I'd actually found out about the fight probably, I don't know, like end of May. Do you know what I mean? So, when a name like that comes up, fight like that comes up, I got into training. I mean, I only fought in April anyway. So I was putting doing all my long runs and all my fitness. And then obviously, you sort of implement the boxing and the sparring and the CrossFit, and yeah, it's been a long camp, very long camp. But I was saying to my friends today, like I've really no stone unturned. Like I've done everything. I've done the running, I've done the sparring, I've done my CrossFit, my strength. Um, so yeah, this is it.
Yeah, and I saw a post you had that I was kind of curious to get some clarification on because you saw, or you had a post rather saying, see you in a few weeks for the last dance in Leeds. Like, what is this last dance you're referring to? Is it the last dance for Malinaji? Is this like you saying this your last fight in Leeds? Like, what's the meaning of that, I guess?
So I mean, look, it was always going to be my last fight. I'm bowing out, and it's going to be Paulie's last fight as well. I mean, look, he signed a free fight deal, but he's not getting past the first fight, so it's going to be retirement. It's going to be a retirement due for both of us. It's probably never happened before. We're both going to retire on the same night. Um, yeah, he's definitely not going to want to carry on with the bare knuckle journey after this fight. And I'm done. Look, I've got nothing else to prove. I'm a pioneer in this game. I think slowly people are starting to see it now. I opened the door for everyone. I went to America. I've done all the madness, the COVID stuff. And I'm starting to get my respect now. It's not often I can go into a room or a street and people don't recognise me now. So, um, this fight against Paulie, as Paulie said when we had the face off, he wants to give me the exposure. I've not had the exposure that I really should have had in my career. So, yeah, it's a nice one about on.
Yeah, I mean, someone who obviously is very credentialed in glove boxing, a former IBF junior welterweight and WBA welterweight champion. So is this like, I mean, it seems like you kind of said it there in a sense, but would this be like a great way to kind of have like a swan song from the sport? I mean, your resume already speaks volumes. And like you said, people are finally giving you that due credit now. But would this be like an ideal kind of fight to, bow out on in a certain sense?
It wasn't a fight as a boxer that I missed. And Paulie, I was a big fan of Paulie. The fight, boxing fans will remember the night he fought Miguel Cotto with a broken jaw or cheekbone or whatever it was. Like the guy is very, very tough. The guy is very, very good. And I actually just put his a picture of his resume out, and like he's fought everyone, man, everyone. And I salute that, because that's how I like to be in my career. I like that's he's obviously been a two-weight world champion, but he's had a lot of lows. He's lost a lot of fights, but he's always come back and fought the best. So you really have to take your hat off to people like
And it seems like a great way to kind of, I mean, with this being your mapped out final fight, as you've kind of said, I mean, it seems like a nice way to kind of have everything, I guess, dovetail together in a sense, because obviously you did great things when you did go over to BKFC as well. You know, you contended for the lightweight title and whatnot, but you were a champion in BKB. And it seems like with this return to the promotional fold, you've kind of like made amends with Jim Freeman and Joe
that.
Brown after having some cross words from, I guess, the prior regime. So it
Yeah.
seems like everything's kind of like fallen nicely into place, like maybe like on multiple fronts. There's that kind of closure and everything associated with this fight, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Jim and Joe have been really good. If they've stuck to everything they've said, they've been really good. Yeah, and yeah, I can't, no complaints at all. And then obviously, to give me this fight, the exposure. It's just a massive fight to go out on. It's great. I've not been totally honest with people how badly, like, my hands and my body's been, but because I want it so badly. But at 34, people have got to remember there's a lot of life to live after fighting, and this is going to be my ninth bare knuckle fight. But people forget that I fought at a very high level as a professional boxer and an amateur as well. I had a lot of fights. I had 69 amateur fights and I had 19 professional boxing matches, and like 10 of them were like title fights. Do you know what I mean? 10 rounds grueling, 10 round title fights. So um, I've been about I've been about and on top of that, all the sparring and all the stuff, all the behind the scenes that no one sees. It's 34 years of age. Maybe I could go on another couple of years, but it's, for what? I'm not really and truly after this fight against Paulie. What more can I do? Like, and without being too disrespectful, people go, BKB champion again. I done it in a historic fight against Sean George. And even the champion now at my weight, Liam Reese, like, good fighter, champion, all this, but like no one knows who he is, So it's like, after this Paulie fight, I could walk away, and I want to get into coaching, and who knows? Look, I could bring another bare knuckle superstar along. But like I say, as a 34-year-old man now, let's face it, I'm on the decline. The scar tissue on my face is a joke. So I'm having to fight my last three fights, pretty much blind really because the blood and the scar tissue damage. Yeah, I just don't really want it for I've got this last one. I can go, do you know what? All in, let's go. But there's got to come a time. There's got to come a time, and if the fighter can come up, it's not often the fighter comes up with that. Do you know what I mean? Usually, it's someone else like trying to persuade someone to retire and all that. But I feel it. I felt it in training for this fight. I mean, I've had a lot going on in my personal life, lots. I'm very proud of myself, how I've just got on with it, but I've not been enjoying it. The discipline side of me is incredible, and everything gets done impeccably. Do you know what I mean? Like to the max. But I'm just not loving it. I haven't got the love for it anymore. It hurts. Training hurts. And what people forget is as well, as a professional, we're not training to keep fit and training at 70%. We're there. I can only speak for myself, but I imagine most professional combat sportsmen, when you go into training, you're given 110% every time. I'm training twice a day, 6 days a week. Um, and people will be like, I'm my own worst enemy when I should take rest and everything else. But when I'm switched on to a fight, man, I'm locked in. It's an obsession. And again, I think most other fighters will say the exact same thing. It's an obsession. So yeah, the last 16 weeks have been hard with everything that's going on outside in my life, and in the mix of that, I'm also fighting a guy who's a former two-weight world champion, so discipline, man, super discipline.
Yeah, and super happy rather to see this fight, come to fruition despite the slightly amended timeline for it. And yeah, very much seems like you're locked in. So a great swan song kind of effort in that particular regard. But yeah, you did talk about, I guess, some of the, I guess, background you have in gloved boxing. And we kind of talked about this last time, the fact that you were
Yeah.
chief support for Anthony Joshua when you won an English gloved boxing title. And
Yeah,
around that time,
I've key support to Kevin Mitchell world title fight again at the O2, fighting for the WBC International. And look, I was only 23. Do you know what I mean? I was a kid, man. Like, who knows what I could have really done in boxing if I'd got, I lost my license at 26. So I was sort of coming into my peak, really, 27, 28, 29, 30. But who knows? But obviously, all things happen for a reason. Pushed me into bare knuckle. I probably would have never done it. Had not I not lost my license. So, yeah, things happen for a reason, I suppose.
I guess this is more of just like a recency kind of thing that I even thought of it in this context. But you talking about, oh, I wouldn't have done bare knuckle if I hadn't have lost my gloved boxing license. I guess it kind of articulates sometimes that, I guess maybe, how do I phrase this thought? It's like certain people, I guess, have a particular want for bare knuckle. Maybe some people are like, oh, it seems like glove boxing would have been a better fit. And it seems like you were kind of touching on that there. And I guess I'm tying that to the recent BKFC 81 fight that James DeGale had. Like I actually wrote an article on it where he was talking about how, like, I guess through a statement from someone in his camp, they were like, you know what, bare knuckle is not necessarily for him. Like boxing is more the kind of vibe. So I guess it just kind of underscores that sort of thing. Like bare knuckle is its own unique kind of animal in a certain regard.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've always said it. It's it's definitely not for everyone. I mean, look, we've seen quite a few really, prestigious names in boxing come over and not do very well. That doesn't, people have been saying, boxers, boxing. It's funny because obviously I've done both to a very high level, and I'm straight up when I say, like, the gym that I used to be at in London was full of world champions. Do you know what I mean? And I'm honest enough to say I would have never made it as a world champion pro boxer. Um, the level is just incredible. Like, it's something that most you just can't conceive. Do you know what I mean? The level you have to be a world champion. I was sort of like British level, um, you know, and to be fair, there's nothing wrong with that. That's really good level. Um, but yeah, like, to be a world champion boxer, you have to be something else. And then on the flip side of that, obviously the bare knuckle, you have to be a different animal to be a world class bare knuckle fighter. And the boxers are seeing that. They're thinking, well, actually, I was a world class boxer, so that means I'm going to be a world class bare knuckle fighter, and it's not happening. So um, there's definitely a lot of ingredients that go into being a bare knuckle fighter. You know, and yeah, DeGale. It's funny because obviously I worked with DeGale in the build up to this fight. We sparred, and we used to, I'd be sort of giving him advice on how to land the shots and stuff like that. I see some stuff saying, DeGale's, he didn't want to get in a fight, he's a coward and all. I don't think it's that at all, because you look at his fights with Badou Jack, and man, they are just absolute wars. So he's war tested, but it's a different thing getting hit with a bare knuckle. I won't even say, it really hurts when you get hit with a glove, because obviously the glove allows you to punch much harder. So, but it's a different type of pain when you get hit with a bare knuckle. You split instantly. Um, a lot of fighters are really worried at the sight of their own blood, and it freaks them out, and then it's game over, really. So, the one thing I've always said, and I always will say, um, the best bare knuckle fighters in the game are very comfortable in the chaos. They can see things in all that's happening, the chaos, the punches that are thrown about, the blood, the fans. They can see, like, perfect example is Austin Trout, who is a boxer who's just took very, very well to bare knuckle, like, and I can't really see anyone beating him because he's just got that style where you just can't get near him. He's just the jab. He's very long. Um, yeah, so some fighters, yeah, I know that he's done a lot of like grappling work and stuff like that in his training. Um, Maybe the UK fighters are because we're not so used to MMA. Do you know what I mean? So the boxers especially. So I think they're sort of coming into bare knuckle thinking, actually, my boxing alone is going to be enough, and then they're getting in there, they're getting grappled and messed about, and they're like, oh, actually, this is very different. Um, and it's very different. The fight against, for me, what really learnt me the fight against Lewis Palomino with the clinch. I'd never done the clinch before. I'd never even done it in sparring, stupidly. I mean, I did go over there on my own, Dominican that, but yeah, when I got in there, he utilised it straight away, like straight away. Um, and yeah, it done damage.
And I mean, two great examples there for sure. And I guess it kind of leads me to getting your thoughts on that BKFC lightweight tournament field, because those aforementioned names of Luis Palomino and Austin Trout will be running it back in that tournament field. And then also Franco Tenaglia and Ben Bonner kind of on that other end of
Yeah.
the bracket. Like, I guess outright, like, who do you see emerging from that field as the BKFC lightweight champion?
Was that 155? Is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, right. So Trout's coming down a weight. Okay. I mean, look, I I think Trout has just got the style and the jab, and over the 2 minutes, the 5 rounds, I think he's got it unlocked for Circle Ring. Lewis Palomino's never lost at 155, so you cut. At the end of the day, like, look, I've trained with him, I fought him. No matter what I think of him, he's a very, very, very good fighter. He thinks about what he does. He trains, yeah, like a madman. To be fair, like, he's 44 and he just he trains so hard. So look, yeah, you can't bet against him. Tenaglia, very, very, very tough, a bit raw. I actually thought he lost the fight against James Lilly. I thought James Lilly actually got up off the deck that first round, which I couldn't believe he got up. And I thought he actually won. And then, to be honest with you, I actually thought that Soto beat him as well. I know it was close because of the knockdowns and stuff like that. I don't really like. I don't. I rate him as a bare knuckle fighter, but like skill wise, technical wise, he's he's nowhere near Trout or Palomino. Obviously Ben Bonner, he's the wild card, isn't he? He went in and he can obviously punch. And again, like, you can't write him off, can you? Like, at the end of the day, like, if you can punch, you're there to the end. You're in for a shout, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely an interesting tournament field. So curious to see, what plays out with that and everything. But yeah, I guess just kind of an interesting landscape overall. Like, I partly mentioned that, Joshua fight where you were the support for one of his fights years ago and stuff like that with that English gloved boxing title at the center of it, because I was presenting it in our last conversation in that context of Jake Paul calling out Anthony Joshua for a fight, which obviously didn't come to fruition. And now Paul getting ready to fight Gervonta Davis in November, which quite the size difference between Joshua and Gervonta Davis. Do you have any thoughts on that particular fight or not so much?
I mean, it's just the way the fighting is now, and it's a circus. Do you know what I mean? Whatever, it draws eyes because it's just very controversial. Everyone's got an opinion on it. I haven't really got an opinion on it, to tell you the truth. It's just it's expected. I think that something all fair to Tank, and I really hope Tank goes in there and shows him what boxing is. I mean, obviously there's a big weight difference, but I still think that Tank will be more than he's very, very, very good. And as I've always said, there's levels to this. And I think that, yeah, Tank. I think that Tank will just out boxing, man. I really do. And the circus won't end there. It will carry on. It will be a pensioner or something. back in the mix, I'm sure. But that's just what it is. Look, if there's money to be made, it will always happen, won't it?
Yeah, and I guess it's similar to what we were talking about with his prior Netflix fight with Mike Tyson, where it was almost like, oh, it was a cool device to have the spotlight on Katie Taylor and
Mm.
Amanda Serrano, and maybe in that similar vein, like Alicia Baumgardner being featured on this card, and I guess even just in a broader sense, like the surrounding kind of fight card, like it almost seems like they try to have the more divisionally relevant kind of fights, for lack of
Yeah,
a better way to
yeah,
phrase it, like underneath.
yeah.
And yeah, I guess that's
Well,
maybe like the silver lining in a way.
yeah, I mean, I felt like it was a bit of an excuse almost because it was like everyone obviously was really talking down the Tyson Paul fight, and it was like, oh yeah, but at least it gives Kate Taylor and Amanda Serrano that, and you're like, yeah, it did. So you can't really argue with that, but at the same time, it's a circus, it is a circus. That is the way that boxing is headed now. Like boxing has never ever been a better level, higher level. I mean, look at Terence Crawford the other day, like just unbelievable, unreal, incredible. But that being said, you've also got a lot of people out there who are exploiting the sport, who can see that they can make a lot of money off these, circus fights. They also, and look, the Jake Paul fights appeal to a wider audience than just combat sports fans. So it's people are also going to be, oh, it's great because it brings people to boxing. You're like, yeah, but it's bringing people to the wrong part of boxing. Did they watch the Terence Crawford Canelo fight, or are they just watching Jake Paul beat up a 58-year-old Mike Tyson? Because that's not boxing. That's not professional boxing. Um, so yeah, it's just the way it is, isn't it? I've either just got to get on with it. You can moan about it and get it, but it's not going to change nothing.
Well, I was actually going to bring that up at some point too, because I was seeing in the lead up to that fight, you were understandably quite excited about that Crawford Canelo fight, as was I and many other ardent boxing fans too. I feel like that fight was the perfect confluence of like high level, sweet science acumen, but also like an ability to have that massive kind of audience. Like Netflix obviously, penetrates in a global way in such a massive kind of regard. So a great combination of those two things. Like, did the hype kind of manifest in the fight in a way where you felt it was commensurate? Like, what were your thoughts on that Bud Crawford and Canelo Alvarez fight?
Yeah, I thought it was an amazing fight. I thought I actually had Canelo. I just thought Canelo was going to be too big. I thought he might lose the first few rounds, but Crawford wouldn't be able to keep him off. But I was wrong. Like Crawford was just incredible, and there were times where he hurt Canelo, and just mad, mate. Just to be that good, to like be a unified free weight is world champion is just it's just incredible, mate. It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great stuff. Definitely was an awesome event to follow along with, and everything like that. Just, yeah, great lead up to that for sure, and everything. I guess with this fight here with, Paulie Malignaggi and everything like that, because I mean, there's been some comments from you where you're talking about you're in my game now, which, I mean, to be fair, you have much more experience in this sport. And I've kind of wondered about this too, and I'd be curious to get your thoughts on the situation, because he does have a bare knuckle fight to his credit, which was a loss to Artem Lobov at BKFC 6 in 2019. But he has been doing a lot in terms of like commentary work for BKB, and really seems to have a more, I guess, analytical, informed viewpoint of the sport of bare knuckle. But yet there's still, I guess, the natural realities of time and age kind of
Mm.
affecting us all. Like, do you think this sophomore performance in bare knuckle will show like a more, I guess, higher level of specific bare knuckle fight IQ just based on the time away, or is the time away almost something that's going to serve as a detriment in a sense?
Yeah, I can't. Bare knuckle. If anything, I felt it in the last fight where I had 2 years out. Where I thought Soto, it's a different animal. It's a different animal, and nothing can really get you prepared apart from a bare knuckle fight, or nothing. Like bare knuckle fight in front of thousands of people. Like it's just the maddest thing in the world, and you can watch it all day long and think you know the sport, but You don't really. Do you know what I mean? And I don't mean that in a patronising way. It's just how it is. Unless you've done it and you've been in them wars. Like with me, my friends think I'm absolutely mad because I've obviously had the wars I've had. I'm so desensitized to it. I'm just like, do you know what? He's gonna break his hands on my face. He's not gonna hurt me. I don't care about them punches. I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care. The punches are just, it really does not bother me. And to have that feeling going into a fight, you feel like fucking King Kong. Do you know what I mean? And he's not going to be feeling like that. Do you know what I mean? He's going to be questioning himself. Mate, I've been tried and tested against the best, and I've turned up every single time. So it's down to him to perform. I'm just going to turn up and I'm just going to do what I do best, and that's be a tough motherfucker.
And I guess another piece that I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on, and obviously this isn't your fault, like there's circumstance attached to this fight being removed from a prior card and some other variables, but I spoke to Dan Podmore and Marco Martignac, and both seem to, I guess, like feel a type of way about maybe being like the co-main event on this card, just considering it's a champ versus champ fight. Do you have any
Yeah.
particular response to those thoughts from those two?
I mean, it's a great fight. As soon as it was announced, I messaged my mates and said, "Oh wow, that's co-main event. That's gonna be really cool." It is a great fight, and it would headline, I'm sure, other shows. But obviously, all eyes are on me and Paulie at the end of the day. So yeah, well, what can you say? It could be a main event on any other show, really. So I can see why they're aggravated, but at the same time, the spotlight, the co-main event before the main event, there's going to be a lot of eyes on it. I'm sure. So it's a place for them to impress, isn't it?
Yeah, and I guess in kind of like a similar vein, like in the sense of like people having that certain cachet that draws attention in the sport of bare knuckle, someone you were previously on a podcast alongside with Mike Perry definitely fits within that in like a BKFC kind of context. And it seems like there's some talks about, I mean, obviously, is that Jeremy Stevens fight coming up, which is 2 days out as of this particular recording. But it seems like there's also been some broader discourse about like maybe a fight with, Perry and Darren Till for the next Knuckle Mania, if all works out, or maybe even like when Conor McGregor gets out of his contract, like doing a McGregor Perry fight. Like, do you have any particular, I guess, appetite for any of those fights? Like maybe like a Perry versus Till or Perry versus McGregor. Like, any thoughts on any of those prospective matchups or anything?
I'll be honest. Look, I thought on Mike Perry shows, and Mike Perry is an entertaining fighter. I know we touched on it being he is a bare knuckle fighter, but there's just no real finesse about him. And you know, it's just all the like, with all due respect, all these fighting, ex UFC fighters and all stuff like that, it may be great over in the States, but like for us over here, like Jeremy Stevens isn't a name. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know who he is. But it's obviously bringing the American crowd in. Yeah, obviously I have feel a certain way about BKFC. Me and BKFC haven't seen, Ice White at all, one bit. Pretty much my whole career. But Mike Perry does what he does for Dave Feldman. He makes a lot of money doing it. So I can't. What can I say?
Well, yeah, I mean, I did see an interview where you were asked if you could fight anyone for free, who would it be? And you said David Feldman or Eddie Hearn. So something within that comment, even too.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I've gone on the BKFC show and offered Dave Feldman out. He's again, in this day and age, what's so strange about a fighter fighting a fight promoter who used to be a professional boxer as well. He gives. I know he's older and everything else, but mate, don't give it the big one on the mic. Don't give it the big one. Like, to me, like I say, I've had problems after problems with BKC. Personal stuff. So that only me and David really know. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it would be a savagery if it did happen. Trust me.
Yeah, and I feel like if it's such a vast career, there's so many things I can talk to you about because there was some pre-pandemic talks of you fighting Jimmy Sweeney, and he has a fight coming up against Carlos Trinidad Snake at that Italy card. Like, do you have any particular thoughts on that matchup? Because that would seem like a fight that would cement that next welterweight title challenger for Julian Lane, potentially.
Yeah, like look, I thought that Jimmy fought really well against Franco in the last fight actually, and showed that he's got a lot less. Because what is he like, early 40s? And to be fair to Jimmy, like he's really drilling himself into shape. Like looks in very very good shape every time he fights now. Um, so but yeah, it's down to him, isn't it? It's how he looks after himself, how much fire is there. He's had a lot of bare knuckle fights. Is the fire the same? Um, I personally think he'll outpoint that Trinidad Snake. I do. I think that he's good, especially in that circle ring and that. I think that he's got a very a good style in there. To be fair. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's been great getting to talk to you. Just it's always in general good getting to talk to you. We've done a few interviews over the years, all throughout your career, but especially so heading into this last fight here. It's been quite a journey since you got into combat sports at
Yeah,
age 10 there and everything like that, and all that the local boxing club Haddenham, ABC, and everything like that. So quite a journey for sure.
yeah, yeah. No, it's been what 24 years now. 15 as a professional. I've been big shows. I made my professional debut 19 years old on a Tyson Fury Showtime card. Two fight later, my third fight, I fought on another Tyson Fury card at Wembley Arena. Numerous Sky shows, O2, Earls Court, MEN Arena. Yeah, it's been mad. And then obviously the bare knuckle stuff on top of that. So yeah, it's been a long career. Um, yeah, this is the one. This is the way to bow out. On my terms. And look back on it with fond memories.
And you're kind of getting me thinking, just even with you bringing that up, because I was referencing before how you were on an Anthony Joshua undercard, and you referenced, being support for some Tyson Fury cards
Yeah.
previously. Do you think in 2026 we ultimately see that Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua fight that's kind of been like on and off dangled out there? I think that would be a big one. But any thoughts on if that comes to fruition?
Yeah, it will definitely happen. It's worth too much money. I think that both fighters, it's past its best. It should have happened earlier, but both of them guys are going to earn outrageous amounts of money. So, and so are the promotions. So it will 1,000,000% happen. Look at this Conor Ben Eubank. We don't need to see it again, but the promotions know they're going to eat off it. So it's happening again.
Yeah, I guess money talks, as was kind of the theme of the Jake Paul discourse from
Yeah,
earlier and everything like that. But I do want to be mindful of your time and schedule, Tyler, as much as it's cool to get to talk to you ahead of this, swan song fight and everything. I do also want to be mindful of your schedule throughout today. So, in that spirit, is there any final parting thought you maybe want to add as we're kind of wrapping up here? I really appreciate you coming on Bare Knuckle Bowker again.
no, no, thank you for having me on. Yeah, just looking forward to it. Like I say, I put a mad camp in. It's been stressful, but now we're getting close to the fight. I can enjoy it more. The hard work's been done. So yeah, just trying to soak it all up really, and just enjoy it as much as I can, and go from there. Yeah,
Yeah, it's going to be such a great fight. Two massive names in combat sports, but even especially so in bare knuckle. So yeah, super stoked to check that out on October 18th. And fans can also check out BKB 47 on Vice TV, which is convenient, definitely expands that reach. But yeah, again, to reiterate, man, thanks so much for coming on Bare
thank
Knuckle
you very
Bowker
much.
ahead of this Paulie Malignaggi fight. And yeah, looking forward to checking it out when it goes down. But until then, you have a good rest of your day, Tyler. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.